সঙ্গীত মুদা ভিড়ে
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhaktivinoda. So continuation, Madhya Lila, chapter 22, text 140. If a person gives up all material desire and completely engages in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, as enjoined in the revealed scriptures, he is never indebted to the demigods, sages, or forefathers. Purport. After birth, every man is indebted in so many ways. He is indebted to demigods for their supplying necessities like air, light, and water. When one takes advantage of the Vedic literatures, one becomes indebted to great sages like Vyasadeva, Narada, Devala, and Asita. When one takes birth in a particular family, he becomes indebted to his forefathers. We are even indebted to common living entities like cows, from whom we take milk. Because we accept service from them, from so many animals, we become indebted. However, if one is completely engaged in the Lord's devotional service, he is absolved of all debts. This is confirmed in the following verse, quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto. One was given up all material duties and taken full shelter at the lotus feet of Mukunda, who gives shelter to all, is not indebted to the demigods, great sages, ordinary living beings, relatives, friends, mankind, or even his forefathers who have passed away. It is said, by offering oblations with ghee, one satisfies the demigod. By studying the Vedas, one performs Brahma Yajna, which satisfies the great sages. Offering libations of water before one's forefathers is called Pritriya Yajna. By offering tribute, one performs Bhuta Yajna. By properly receiving guests, one performs Niyar Yajna. These are the 5 yajnas that liquidate the 5 kinds of indebtedness. Indebtedness to the demigods, great sages, forefathers, living entities, and common men. Therefore, one has to perform these 5 kinds of yajna. But when one takes to the Sankirtan yajna, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, one does not have to perform any other yajna. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Narada Muni made a statement about the systematic performance of Bhagavad Dharma in connection with statements previously made by the 9 Yogendras before Maharaj Nimi. The sage Karabhanjana Rishi explained the 4 incarnations of the 4 yugas. And at the end, in this verse, text 141, he explained the position of Krishna's pure devotee and how he is absolved of all debts. Although the pure devotee does not follow all the regular principles of Varnashram, he worships the lotus feet of Krishna. Therefore, he naturally has no tendency to commit sin. Purport. The Varnashram institution is planned in such a way that one will not commit sinful activities. Material existence continues due to sinful activity. When one acts sinfully in this life, he gets a suitable body for the next life. When one again acts sinfully, he takes on another material body. In this way, one is continuously under the influence of material nature. Purusha Prakati Stohi, Bhukte Prakati Jnana Guna, Karanam Guna Sangosya, Sat Asat Janmasu. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life and joins the three modes of material nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus, he meets with good and evil among various species. Bhagavad Gita 13:22. Due to our association with the modes of material nature, we get different types of bodies, good and bad. One cannot be liberated from the cycle of birth and death, known as transmigration of the soul, unless one is completely freed from all sinful activities. The best process, therefore, is to take to Krishna consciousness. One cannot take to Krishna consciousness without being freed from all sinful activities. Naturally, one who is very serious about Krishna consciousness is freed from all sinful activity. Consequently, a devotee is never inclined to commit sins. If one is pressured by the law or obligations to give up sinful activity, one cannot do so. However, if one takes to Krishna consciousness, he can very easily give up all sinful activity. This is confirmed herein. If, however, a devotee accidentally becomes involved in sinful activity, Krishna purifies him. He does not have to undergo the regulative form of atonement. Purport. Krishna purifies from within as the Chaitanya Guru, the spiritual master within the heart. This is described in the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto. When it was given up everything and taken full shelter at the lotus feet of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is very dear to Krishna. If he is involved in some sinful activity by accident, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is seated within everyone's heart, removes his sins without difficulty. The path of speculative knowledge and renunciation is not essential for devotional service. Indeed, good qualities such as non-violence and control of the mind and senses automatically accompany a devotee of Lord Krishna. Purport. Sometimes a neophyte devotee or ordinary person thinks highly of speculative knowledge, austerity, penances, and renunciation, thinking them the only path for advancement in devotional service. Actually, this is not a fact. The path of knowledge, mystic yoga, and renunciation has nothing to do with the pure soul. When one is temporarily in the material world, such processes may help a little, but they are not necessary for a pure devotee of Krishna. In the material world, such activities end in material enjoyment or merging into the effulgence of the Supreme. They have nothing to do with the eternal loving service of the Lord. If one abandons speculative knowledge and simply engages in devotional service, he has attained his perfection. The devotee has no need for speculative knowledge, pious activity, or mystic yoga. All these are automatically present when one renders the Lord transcendental loving service. For one who is fully engaged in my devotional service, whose mind is fixed on me in bhakti yoga, the path of speculative knowledge and dry renunciation is not very beneficial. Purport. The path of devotional service is always independent of other activity. The path of speculative knowledge and mystic yoga may be a little beneficial in the beginning, but it cannot be considered part of devotional service. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 11th Canto was spoken by Lord Krishna when he was speaking to Uddhava before his departure from this material world. These are important instructions given directly by Lord Krishna. Sri Uddhava asked the Lord about the two kinds of instructions given in the Vedas. One instruction is called Pravritti Marg, and the other is called Nivritti Marg. These are directions for enjoying the material world according to regular principles and then giving up the material world for higher spiritual understanding. Sometimes one does not know whether to practice speculative knowledge and mystic yoga for advancement in spiritual knowledge. Krishna explains to Uddhava that the mechanical process of speculative knowledge and yoga is not necessary for advancing in devotional service. Devotional service is completely spiritual. It has nothing to do with material things. It is awakened by hearing and chanting in the association of devotees. Because devotional service is always transcendental, it has nothing to do with material activity. O Hunter, good qualities like non-violence, which you have developed, are not very astonishing. For those who are engaged in the Lord's devotional service are never inclined to give pain to others because of envy. This is a quotation from the Skanda Purana. It was spoken by Narada Muni to the reformed hunter Mugrari. My dear Sanatan, I have now in detail described devotional service according to the regulative principles. Now hear from me about spontaneous devotional service and its characteristics. The original inhabitants of Vrindavan are attached to Krishna spontaneously in devotional service. Nothing can compare to such spontaneous devotional service, which is called Ragatmika Bhakti. When a devotee follows in the footsteps of the devotees of Vrindavan, his devotional service is called Raganuga Bhakti. Purport. In his Bhakti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami states that when a pure devotee follows the footsteps of a devotee in Vrindavan, he develops Raganuga Bhakti. When one becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his natural inclination to love is fully absorbed in thoughts of the Lord. That is called transcendental attachment. And devotional service, according to that attachment, is called Ragamita, or spontaneous devotional service. This verse is found in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. The primary characteristic of spontaneous love is deep attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Absorption in thought of Him is a marginal characteristic. Thus, devotional service which consists of rag, or deep attachment, is called ragatmika, spontaneous loving service. If a devotee covets such a position, he is considered to be most fortunate. If one follows in the footsteps of the inhabitants of Vrindavan out of such transcendental covetousness, he does not care for the injunctions or reasonings of Shastra. That is the way of spontaneous love. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur says that a devotee is attracted by the service of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, namely the cowherd men, Maharaj Nanda, Mother Yashoda, Radharani, the gopis, and the cows and calves. An advanced devotee is attracted by the service rendered by an eternal servitor of the Lord. This attraction is called spontaneous attraction. Technically, it is called Swarup Upalabdhi. This stage is not achieved in the beginning. In the beginning, one has to render service strictly according to the regulative principles set forth by the revealed scriptures and the spiritual master. By continuously rendering service through the process of Vaidhi Bhakti, one's natural inclination is gradually awakened. This is called spontaneous attraction or Raganuga Bhakti. An advanced devotee situated on the platform of spontaneity is already very expert in shastric instruction, logic, and argument. When he comes to the point of eternal love for Krishna, no one can deviate him from that position, neither by argument nor by shastric evidence. An advanced devotee has realized his eternal relationship with the Lord, and consequently he does not accept the logic and arguments of others. Such an advanced devotee has nothing to do with sahajas, who manufacture their own way and commit sins by indulging in illicit sex, intoxication, and gambling, if not meat eating. Sometimes the sahajas imitate advanced devotees and live in their own whimsical way, avoiding the principles set down in revealed scriptures. Unless one follows the six Goswamis, Sri Rupa, Sanatan, Raghunath Bhatta, Sri Jiva, Gopal Bhatta, and Raghunath Das, one cannot be a bona fide spontaneous lover of Krishna. In this connection, Sri Narottam Das Thakur says, the sahajas' understanding of the love affairs between Radha and Krishna is not bona fide, because they do not follow the principles laid down by the six Goswamis. Their illicit connection and their imitation of the dress of Rupa Goswami, as well as their avoidance of the prescribed methods of revealed scriptures, will lead them to the lowest regions of hell. These imitative sahajas are cheated and unfortunate. They are not equal to advanced devotees or paramahamsas. Debauchees and paramahamsas are not on the same level. Devotional service in spontaneous love is vividly expressed and manifested by the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Devotional service that accords with their devotional service is called Raganuga Bhakti, or devotional service following in the wake of spontaneous loving service. This verse is found in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. When an advanced, realized devotee hears about the affairs of the devotees of Vrindavan in the mellows of Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya, he becomes inclined in one of these ways, and his intelligence becomes attracted. Indeed, he begins to covet that particular type of devotion. When such covetousness is awakened, one's intelligence no longer depends on the instructions of Shastra or revealed scripture, or on logic and argument. This verse is also found in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. There are two processes by which one may execute this Raganuga Bhakti, external and internal. When self-realized, the advanced devotee externally remains like a neophyte and executes all the Shastric injunctions, especially those concerning hearing and chanting. But within his mind, in his original, purified, self-realized position, he serves Krishna in Vrindavan and in his particular way. He serves Krishna 24 hours a day, all day and night. The advanced devotee who is inclined to spontaneous loving service should follow the activities of a particular associate of Krishna's in Vrindavan. He should execute service externally as a regulative devotee, as well as internally from his self-realized position. Thus, he should perform devotional service both externally and internally. This verse is also found in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Actually, the inhabitants of Vrindavan are very dear to Krishna. If one wants to engage in spontaneous loving service, he must follow the inhabitants of Vrindavan and constantly engage in devotional service within his mind. The devotee should always think of Krishna within himself and should choose a very dear devotee who is the servitor of Krishna in Vrindavan. One should constantly engage in topics about that servitor and his loving relationship with Krishna, and one should live in Vrindavan. If one is physically unable to go to Vrindavan, he should mentally live there. This verse is also found Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Krishna has many types of devotees. Some are servants, some are friends, some are parents, and some are conjugal lovers. Devotees who are situated in one of these attitudes of spontaneous love, according to their choice, are considered to be on the path of spontaneous loving service. My dear mother, Devahuti, O emblem of peace, my weapon, the disc of time, never vanquishes those for whom I am dear, for whom I am the supersoul, son, friend, spiritual master, well-wisher, worshipable deity, and desired goal. Since the devotees are always attached to me, they are never vanquished by the agents of time. Purport. This was spoken by Kapila Dev to his mother Devahuti and is recorded in Srimad Bhagavatam 3rd Canto. Kapila Dev instructed his mother in Sankhya Yoga, but the importance of Bhakti Yoga is mentioned here. Later, Sankhya Yoga was imitated by atheists whose system was founded by a different Kapila Dev, Rishi Kapila Dev. Let me offer my respectful obeisances again and again to those who always eagerly meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a husband, a son, friend, brother, father, or intimate friend. If one engages in spontaneous loving service to the Lord, his affection for the lotus feet of Krishna gradually increases. In the seed of affection, there is attachment which goes by two names, Rati and Bhav. The Supreme Personality of Godhead comes under the control of such attachment. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur comments on this verse. Externally, a devotee performs all the items of devotional service in 9 different ways, beginning with Shravan and Kirtan. And within his mind, he always thinks of his eternal relationship with Krishna and follows in the footsteps of the devotees of Vrindavan. If one engages himself in the service of Radha and Krishna in this way, he can transcend the regular principles enjoined in the Shastras, and through his spiritual master, fully engage in rendering spontaneous loving service to Krishna. In this way, he attains affection at the lotus feet of Krishna. Krishna actually comes under the control of such spontaneous feelings, and ultimately, one can attain association with the Lord. That by which one can attain loving service to the Lord, I have described in detail as the execution of devotional service called Abhideya. My dear Sanatana, I have briefly described the process of devotional service in practice, which is the means for obtaining love of Krishna. It cannot be described broadly. Whoever hears this description of the process of practical devotional service very soon attains shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna in love and affection. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, 22nd chapter, describing the execution of devotional service. So now we go on to chapter 23. Life's Ultimate Goal is the title of the chapter. The most munificent Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as Gaura Krishna, distributed to everyone, even the lowest of men, his own confidential treasury in the form of the nectar of love of himself and the holy name. This was never given to the people at any time before. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto him. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, All glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Acharya, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, now hear, O Sanatan, about the result of devotional service, which is love of Godhead, life's ultimate goal. One who hears this description will be enlightened in the transcendental mellows of devotional service. When affection for Krishna becomes deeper, one attains love of Godhead in devotional service. Such a position is called sthayi bhava, permanent enjoyment of the mellows of devotional service to Krishna. When devotional service is executed on the transcendental platform of pure goodness, it is like a sun ray of love for Krishna. At such a time, devotional service causes the heart to be softened by various tastes, and one is then situated in bhav, or emotion. Again, a verse found in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Bhav, emotion, has two different symptoms, constitutional and marginal. Now, my dear Sanatan, listen to the symptoms of love. Purport. The word Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma means situated on the transcendental platform of pure goodness. In this way, the soul is purified of all material contamination. And this position is called Swarup Lakshana, the constitutional symptom of bhav or emotion. By various tastes, one's heart is softened, and there is an awakening of one's loving propensity to render spontaneous service to the Lord. This is called Tatashta Lakshana, the marginal symptom of bhav. When that bhav softens the heart completely, becomes endowed with a great feeling of possessiveness in relationship to the Lord, and becomes very much condensed and intensified, it is called prema, love of Godhead, by learned scholars. When one develops an unflinching sense of ownership or possessiveness in relationship to Lord Vishnu, or in other words, when one thinks Vishnu and no one else to be the object of love, such an awakening is called bhakti or devotion by exalted persons like Bhishma, Prahlad, Uddhava, and Narada. This verse is quoted from Narada Panchalatra. If, by good fortune, a living entity develops faith in Krishna, he begins to associate with devotees. When one is encouraged in devotional service by the association of devotees, one becomes free from all unwanted contamination by following the regulative principles and chanting and hearing. When one is freed from all unwanted contamination, he advances with firm faith. When firm faith in devotional service awakens, a taste for hearing and chanting also awakens. After taste is awakened, a deep attachment arises, and from that attachment, the seed of love of Krishna grows in the heart. When that ecstatic emotional stage intensifies, it is called love of Godhead. Such love is life's ultimate goal and the reservoir of all pleasure. Purport. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur summarizes this growth of love of Godhead as a gradual process. A person becomes interested in devotional service by some great good fortune. Eventually, he becomes interested in devotional service without material contamination. At that point, a person wants to associate with devotees. As a result of this association, he becomes more and more interested in discharging devotional service and hearing and chanting. The more one is interested in hearing and chanting, the more he is purified of material contamination. Liberation from material contamination is called anartami vritti, indicating a diminishing of all unwanted things. This is the test of development in devotional service. If one actually develops the devotional attitude, he must be freed from the material contamination of illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, and meat eating. These are the preliminary symptoms. When one is freed from all material contamination, his firm faith in devotional service awakens. When firm faith develops, a taste arises, and by that taste, one becomes attached to devotional service. When this attachment intensifies, the seed of love of Krishna fructifies. This position is called priti or rati, affection or bhav, emotion. When rati intensifies, it is called love of Godhead. This love of Godhead is actually life's highest perfection and the reservoir of all pleasure. Thus, devotional life is divided into two stages, Shuddhana Bhakti and Bhava Bhakti. Sadhana Bhakti refers to the development of devotional service through the regulative principles. The basic principle for the execution of devotional service is faith. Above that, there is association with devotees, and after that, there is initiation by a bona fide spiritual master. After initiation, when one follows the regulative principles of devotional service, one becomes freed from all unwanted things. In this way, one becomes firmly fixed and gradually develops a taste for devotional service. The more the taste grows, the more one desires to render service to the Lord. In this way, one becomes attached to a particular mellow in the Lord's service, Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, or Madhurya. As a result of such attachment, Bhav develops. Bhav Bhakti is the platform of purified goodness. By such purified goodness, one's heart melts in devotional service. Bhav Bhakti is the first seed of love of Godhead. This emotional stage is there before one attains pure love. When that emotional stage intensifies, it is called Prema Bhakti, or transcendental love of Godhead. This gradual process is also described in the following two verses, which are found in Bhakti Charitamrita Sindhu. So we'll finish there and we'll continue tomorrow evening from text 15. Jai Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki,
Jai.
Shri Prabhupada ki, Shri
Jai.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki. So you'll have to stay tomorrow to get finished.
We'll just move it.
So you see, hearing and chanting is a crucial factor. And we see here, all of this is spoken by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All of it. And you can see, even though God himself is speaking, he's still quoting from the scriptures. Every second verse is a quote from the Narada Pancharatra, from Srimad Bhagavatam, from Bhagavad Gita. So God himself is quoting the scriptures to make sure that what he's saying is substantiated by the Shastra. So there can be no question that it's bona fide.
Everything's aligned.
Yes. So what to speak of us? If God himself is quoting from the scriptures, then who are we to dismiss them and say, oh, it's just a book?
Thank you for sharing.
Jan.
Is there something later as well tonight?
Is there what?
Is there anything else today on in terms of Arti or anything? Or? No?